Hey guys, Eli Doyle with the Oregon Grape. In just a few moments, you're going to see some footage from a town hall meeting that was recorded Thursday, January 30th at the Josephine County Fairgrounds. The meeting was coordinated by Commissioner Ron Smith, and the purpose was to discuss Senate Bill 762, which is a bill regarding fire hazard maps for the state. Many people were upset with this bill and the restrictions that it placed on their properties, and so the purpose of the meeting was to inform the public on ways that they could kind of push back against the bill and hopefully protect their property rights. As you'll see in our footage, the crowd was much larger than what coordinators were expecting, and you'll see that there was a line outside the door that was going almost to the highway, and coordinators were scrambling to bring in more chairs to try and accommodate everybody, and even then people ended up just kind of sitting along the walls and standing along the walls to listen to the speakers. So clearly it's a very important issue to a lot of people, and so I hope that you'll find a lot of value in the information that the speakers presented. We did have a few audio problems. The event was kind of all over the place, and so it was a little tricky to know kind of where to place mics and things like that, and even the coordinators themselves were having some issues with the PA system. So I hope that won't distract you from the information that is presented. It's a very important thing to be informed on, so I hope you'll enjoy.
Well, I'll stick with the sickness around me till it takes a final blow. I'm headed up to a place they call paradise, and where it is, only God knows. Only God knows where.
So will you all join me in a prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you for your guidance, for your divine wisdom, for your understanding of our situation and your help in this time of emergency for property owners. So I thank you and claim the victory this evening in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
All right, if you could join me with a pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Before we get started with this meeting, this is a noticed public meeting, and as commissioners, we're obligated to let everybody know that if we have a conflict or potential conflict of interest, we need to disclose that right now. So as a property owner and resident of Josephine County, I'm here declaring that I may have a potential conflict of interest with the subject matter that we're discussing here today.
I also am a citizen of Josephine County and might possibly have a conflict of interest.
And another disclosure, I also own property and live in Josephine County. I might have a conflict of interest as well. So just putting that out there.
All right, just like you, we're concerned about our property rights, and that's what we're here for today. So again, a hearty welcome to everybody. I'm actually I shouldn't say very surprised, but I'm very grateful of the turnout that we have here tonight. This is a big deal, as you all know. This has been in the making for quite some time. And so moving forward, we have Commissioner Smith. He's the one that's spearheading this issue, this challenge that we have right now before us. And I'm going to turn over the mic to him right now.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Obviously, this is an issue of concern for all of us here. It is for your county. This county is going to fight it along with Jackson County as hard as we can. We're going to do everything we can to protect your property. That's part of the reason we're having this meeting. So we're going to go through this meeting. Tonight we're going to go up with a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to show you how we're going to take this law apart page by page. Okay? Then we're going to, I hope you all got your paperwork before we ran out. We really didn't expect to have 1,000 people here. but I think we're close.
There's 4 million people in this state.
Well, I'll tell you what my goal of this evening is. My goal is to get 20 or 30,000 people upset enough to take action. That's what it's going to take. A couple commissioners up here isn't going to do it. I'm looking out here and I'm seeing the answer right here. It's you guys. You guys are the answer to this problem. So I had a list of names and numbers back there. I want you to bring their phones off the hook. And I have their emails. Flood their emails. I've learned a long time ago. Politicians understand one thing. Numbers. It's either numbers of dollars and cents or it's numbers of people. It's obvious we have a start here, but this is just a start. So we're going to have, this is just one meeting. You can't solve this problem with one meeting. So we're going to have another meeting. And I'd like to ask you all, I'm seeing how it's late and all of us a little older than youngsters. Would you prefer to have a weekend meeting or another weeknight meeting? So who would like to see a weekend meeting? So everybody wants to do it at the weeknight. Okay, that's fine. We'll do that. I'll get you a date on this. I hope you sign some paper back there so I have some contact information so we can reach out to you. This will be noticed again on the county webpage and all over Facebook and next door. And it'll probably be on the Bill Myers Show. How many of you heard about this on the Bill Myers Show? Thank God for Bill, huh? So I'm going to have Commissioner Barnett come up. He's a real estate broker. I want him to talk a little bit how this is affecting the real estate market. And also, we all know this is affecting our insurances, right? How many people had their insurance go up? Senate Bill 762 did that to you. How many had your power bills go up? 762 did that to you. We need to undo 762. Get rid of it. I had a web page because I was fighting this issue before I was a commissioner. I have a web page. I want to revive that web page. That web page is called Undo 762. So look for it, search for it. I'll revive that. We'll take some of that paperwork that's on the table and make it downloadable for you. That'll keep you up to date on what's happening with this issue. You'll be able to find the meetings there. So I'll call my webmaster tomorrow and get that thing up and running. So it's undo762.com. Remember that. Not hard to remember, huh? So I'm going to let Commissioner Barnett talk about real estate a little bit.
Let's hear it for Ron for putting this together over here. And us commissioners are working really hard. We're into week number 4, going into week number 4. And this is a big topic. This is a huge, huge topic. So we want to address it. This is the biggest crowd I've ever seen in this building. So thanks to you guys for showing up. So thank you, honestly. And it's because of you guys why we're here. A lot of questions came up real quick before I talked about the real estate values and stuff like that. This will be rebroadcast. There is no live stream, but they are doing a video on it. Mike Jones, I think, somewhere you're back there. Mike, raise your hand. Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you. And Eli from the Oregon Grape. So they're going to repost this so you guys can watch it or have people that couldn't attend tonight. So how many people got a letter or something in the mail? Just about all of you guys, right? That's why we're here, including myself. I live in the Redwood Avenue on pasture, and I'm like, I'm not in a forest area. What are you talking about? And I'm high risk. And I know you guys are upset when you guys got those letters, and that's why we're all here. We're fired up because we want to attack this wildfire hazard map and how it's going to affect real estate values. Let me tell you, last year I had a property, and we got it under contract. We could not sell that house because the insurance, nobody would insure the new buyer. Nobody would insure the new buyer. He finally found a high-risk insurance company paying $1,500 a month. And I'm not kidding you, it was my first encounter. It was just late last year, and I'm like, well, this is something that's going to keep coming up. And then I found another one. Insurance, they don't want to insure me. All the big carriers that you know, the big ones, right? Geico and Progressive and all them. Nope, we don't do that. What are you talking about? They're almost setting us up for failure, saying that we are going to be on fire this year or to come. All right, that's what they're doing. And we have had the Association of Counties, Herman Burchegger, our last commissioner, we did a forum at the Ambassador. We loudly spoke. Josephine County does not want this and redo this fire hazard map. And it went nowhere. We all spoke. You guys were there in that room, a lot of you guys. We've done another forum here. Ron, we did that, 3 years ago? Something like that? 2 years ago. He invited me in here too. We talked about it. I don't want your real estate values to go down. That's what's going to happen. Real estate values are going to go down, and we're not going to be able to get insurance, fire insurance. We're not going to get it. And I know you guys are scared out of your wit on that. So I just want to let you guys know, we're going to try to ease your minds tonight. I'm scared too. I'm in the same bucket as you guys. So we're all here to try to talk about what's going on. Bob Hart is going to speak. He spoke to us at a meeting the other day, and he's very informative on this subject. But I know the biggest question you guys have is, what can we do? We're here, we're listening, but what's the action result out of this? So Mr. Hart is going to address that as well. So I just want to tell you, we are all concerned about this. Real estate values, it affects all you guys, every single property owner in this room. So with that, I'm just keeping mine short and sweet. We're going to attack it, and I'll give it back to Ron Smith. But thank you guys for coming. And questions, are we doing questions at the end? Is that what we're doing? All right.
So, this is horrible legislation. Horrible. Pushed by one senator and one representative. Jeff Golan out of Ashland and Pam Marsh out of Ashland. If you can, make their phones ring off the hook and melt down, please.
Can you come to the meeting he's having in 2 weeks?
Am I going to?
I'm serious.
Yeah, well, you know they had
You're
a
a politician, he's a politician.
Okay.
He's a politician.
Yeah.
Hey,
So we're going to have a question and answer period at the end of this. Will you hold your questions till that time? I know you probably have a lot of questions. The other thing I want you to do, when you got a question, I don't want a long statement or some great monologue or some other issue. Let's keep this straight on the wildfire hazard map. Ask your questions, point it to that, and everybody, we're going to send a mic around the room so we can hear your questions. But don't get up there and make a great big speech. This is time to answer questions and get your answers. I'm going to turn this meeting over to a guy I really respect. He has a lot of knowledge. 20 years a county planner right here in Josephine County. He's retired now, has his own consulting business. But Bob Hart is one excellent researcher. He's torn this bill completely apart, and he's going to run through a PowerPoint presentation here. You're going to learn all about this legislation. And I get back up here and try to fire the crowd up again. Bob, you want to step up the plate and show these people what this law looks like?
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Green light means go.
We'll try it again. Yay! God, this is working better than county government ever has. Yeah, as Ron said, I was a county planner for 20 years. Louder. I was a county planner for 20 years, saw the light, and became a consultant to try and help people get through the process. So I've worked both sides of the counter. I know how it happens, how things work, how they get administered, and some things, for one reason or another, start out as a good idea and then turn to something nobody envisioned or wanted. And this wildfire legislation is one of those. Because everybody that I know is concerned about fire here in Southern Oregon. We saw that with the Alameda fire. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is this map and this program would have done nothing to stop the Alameda fire. So we're trying to see what we can do to affect this. When the map was first released in 2022, they were first going to come to Grants Pass, and apparently State Forestry said we had threats to our life and they canceled the meeting. The meeting that was supposed to be held in Medford, they turned to a Zoom meeting, so they didn't have to come before the people. We had over 2,000 people on that Zoom meeting, and as a result of the far cry from the people, the map was withdrawn. And I think that's my goal at this point, is to take this new map and do the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people understand all the details. I'll try and do a quick review so people know what's going on or how this thing happened. It started with SB 762. It was adopted in the 2021 legislative session, right in the middle of COVID. They had locked down the doors of the state capitol. Nobody could go testify. It kind of went in under the radar. When it was withdrawn, they said, we'll make course corrections, we've heard you. With that, they started with SB 80 and SB 82. Here's the draft map. As you can see, Southern Oregon is one of the prime areas down here with the red. It's probably the most impacted counties in the whole state. The three biggest ones are Josephine, Jackson, and Hood River. (762) was adopted in 2021, and they required what they called at that time a risk map, and they had 5 categories: low, medium, high, and extreme, and no impact. Then they went to add, where do the people live? Where are the people most affected? And they looked at another process that the federal government put together, and it's called the Wildland-Urban Interface. And that's when you have more than one house per 40 acres. So they said if you have a house within that kind of density and have a high fire risk, then you're going to be in one of these zones. They prepared a map by the Oregon State University and the Oregon Department of Forestry. Part of the program, they required mandatory defensible space. That is mandatory, that you have to modify your vegetation, you will be inspected, and it is in the statute that they could start a fining violation process and put a lien against your property and confiscate it. This is their proposal, is that you keep all vegetation away from power lines by 10 feet, vegetation away from houses by 10 feet, 10 feet between trees, and that you would have to limb up the trees so you cannot have what they call ladder fuels, where it starts in the grass, gets into the lower branches, and then crowns. So they said, we need a space. And how big is that space? The 10 feet is adjacent to structures, but it's 50 feet in all directions away from the structures that you have to clear the trees and move them. Another part was what they call the building code requirements, where they are changing the state codes as they apply to your structures. And what happens is if you replace your roof or a portion of your roof, the whole roof has to be modified to meet new standards for fire resistance. Gutters cannot be flammable. Exterior siding, if you're having to change your property, T111 is not one of those fire-resistant types of materials. So soffits, they're trying to keep embers from going into the attics and starting that on fire. So they have a whole list of things that need to be done. The average 1,200 square foot house, if it's new construction, it could be increased by over $5,000 just to meet these new standards. So how did this happen that people learned about this? They sent a letter to everybody that's in a high and extreme rating. They canceled the meetings, as I said. Objections were submitted, the map was withdrawn, and a lot of people were concerned about insurance rates. So here's where things supposedly changed. They started with SB 80, that was in the 2023 session. They changed risk to hazard. Change without a distinction. Risk and a hazard is the same basic map. They reduced the zones to 3, where they combined the high and the extreme, but the rules applied to both of them beforehand and they apply now. One of the most insidious things I think they did is they said if you wanted to appeal it, say, I don't agree with what you've done, I want to appeal and have you relook at my property. They changed it to a contested case, which puts it into a very legalistic system. A lot of people think they need an attorney, and in some places you do. The way they wrote the law of contested case, if you're other than a personal property owner, if you have property in an LLC or a corporation or even a family trust, you are required by law to have an attorney represent you. So to try and convince everybody that this was the right way to go, they said, we will have a very robust interchange with the people and find out what they have to say before we finalize the map. They had regional open houses. I went to the one in Medford. They talk for about 7 minutes and give a very broad overbrush, and they say, now go around and talk to the different agencies. They never answered the questions or talked to the people. It was all a dog and pony show. The other things they did is they did make a few adjustments for irrigated agricultural lands. Mainly that applied up north. There's a few places out around White City where it's irrigated, and they took it out of the high fire danger area. But it didn't apply to everybody, because it says it has to be agricultural. So if you have irrigated lawn, garden, if it's not a commercial garden, that was ignored. That didn't change anything at all. They changed a few isolated hazard areas because the way the map was put together, it was all by computer. Nothing was verified on the ground, and so they put all these factors into a computer, and whatever popped out, popped out. So you have high and low side by side. It just made no sense. So right now, where things are, the final map was published January 7th of this year. An appeal period started. It's 60 days. It ends on Saturday, March 8th. Now, they say, well, it's on a weekend, so we'll take it till Monday. I don't trust them. If you're going to file an appeal, make sure you have it by that Friday, March 7th, to be within their 60-day time frame. The letter that they sent to everybody was a packet of information to try and explain what needs to be done. They didn't give you any details other than they quoted the laws, gave you some handouts. They had an introductory cover letter, an application law statement of which code provisions apply, and then they had a bunch of propaganda from the state agency saying, here's what we're doing, if you have questions, call us. They put the burden all on us to try and prove them wrong. They gave you appeal instructions and an appeal form. Sorry that you didn't get one. The way they have explained it is only those people that are within a wildland urban interface and in high got a letter. It's about 15 pages, and it was certified so they can keep track of who they sent it to. The appeal form is 1 page, and some of it is check a box. The hazard value or wildland urban interface assignment is not consistent with adopted rules, or the criteria of the map wasn't applied correctly. The way these types of things work is if you don't raise an issue in an appeal, then you can't go any further and you can't bring it up again. So you need to, if you're going to appeal to try and get out of this whole program, you need to address all the issues first time through. To try and get some of the background information, they have what they call the Wildland Explorer, where it's the map that's required by state law. You enter your address in, it'll create a report, and it's a 1 page, and it's about your property, and then it has links and text about the program. Here's what the new map looks like. Here's what their page looks like. They changed the colors a little bit, but if you look, there's not much difference between the original map and this one. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I used my property here as an example to where there's a little button on the page. After you put your address in, it will zoom into your property, and then you print out a report. This is a report. It's basically a 1-page report, and like I said, then they've got a lot of propaganda behind it. And on this report, it says, here is a high fire risk value. It's just a number that's not related to anything. Mine is 1.579675. And I go, what does that mean? And they won't tell you. They say, well, we ran a bunch of analysis through the computer, and this is the number we came up with, and it's assigned to your property.
How much lithium under your land?
Yeah. I've figured out, I live halfway between Rogue River and Weimar. I'm an overachiever. Here I am in Southern Oregon, and I'm in the top 1/2 of 1% of the fire hazard in the state of Oregon. These things are just kind of, we used to call it PFA, pluck from air. They just draw it out of the area. Here's one of the overlays that they have. They have a few on their website, but they don't have them all. This one is burn probability. What's the possible fires coming into your area in any given year? So here is the probability. This is the Evans Creek Valley out toward Evans Creek. This is the only thing that has a number on the whole site, and it's a .005 something or other. The way it used to be is you would stack one thing on top of the other, because the 4 factors that are supposed to go into this is climate, weather, topography, and vegetation. But they don't tell you what the numbers are assigned to each one except for probability. So let's get into the appeals. That's where the rubber meets the road on this thing. And some people are saying, well, what good is it for me to appeal? Well, when we had the onslaught last time they brought out the map, they finally withdrew it because of the hue and cry of the people. We need to do that again, or you're going to have a program that's put on your back when the biggest part of it that we all know is the federal forest land that's been mismanaged for decades. They'll come up with reasons to say, oh no, that's not the case. It's because of climate change. Well, I don't know how long those people have been living around here, but we didn't have those kind of fires and we didn't have these kind of problems till we had the spotted owl and they kicked everybody out of the woods. So here's the appeals. It's called a contested case. It's in ORS 183, and you can have all these fancy numbers to go through. And the reason I called this one up and I highlighted this, because some people said, I don't need an attorney. This is where it says, if you have a trust and you want to appeal, you must have an attorney. This was written by attorneys out of the Department of Justice. I guess the feds aren't the only one that have Department of Justice that are going after the people. Here's the form for an appeal. It's designed so it cannot be based on what you've done to your property. So if you go out and cut every tree, tear your house down and pave it, you can still be in the WUI in the high fire danger area. There's no rhyme or reason to this, but what they're saying, and there is some reasoning behind it, is if a fire is headed your way, the embers can travel up to 1.5 miles and keep that fire going. So what your neighbors do to their property really does affect you to some extent. But there's nothing in the code that allows for anything to change that. So even if you get you and your neighbors to band together and clear out all the brush and everything, it's still not going to change the map. That's why we have to defeat the map. You're limited to appeal the creation and the methodology of the map. That's all you can do. So I looked through it, tried to figure out how to unpack it, and one of the things that it says is they're going to provide opportunities for public input to the assignment of properties to the wildfire hazard zones. Okay, how do we have this public input? The department has to give notice about the property, how it's been assigned, and the effects on the property. There's just so much going through my head with this whole thing, because the original bill is 20 pages, and they keep coming out with these big things year after year. Every time the legislature goes into session, it's a problem. Some of these things make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know that it's really going to help you. We'll get to helping you in a minute. And the reason I brought up this slide is this little rectangle there is my property. And the yellow in there is what they call high flame length. based on the vegetation. That's supposed to be 12-foot flames or larger whenever there's a fire. Here's my property. Where that 12-foot flame length is a swimming pool, a garden, 2 plum trees. Doesn't look like it's gonna burn that high to me. So this is where we're gonna try and attack it, is to say they didn't go out and field check the property. They used a computer model of things to try and show what they wanted to show. And in the code it says, through the use of clear language, graphics, visuals, and examples, that the underlying criteria for assigning hazard zones are publicly available and comprehensive to a public audience. I worked with this stuff for over 45 years, and I had a hard time trying to make it fit into my brain. How is it going to happen to the average person? What I was thinking about is my mom. She was 94 when she passed. But if she got one of these letters and I wasn't around, how could she contend with this? She was lucky to work a flip phone right. So what we look at here is another part of their problem, and I'm going to have somebody come up and speak about this in a minute. They say, well, all the data is there. All you got to do is go look at it, and they give you this reference to go look at the public data. And I downloaded it. It's an 8 gigabyte file. I said, okay, I'm used to doing this. Let's try it. Because it says you've got to open it with a GIS system. So I clicked on a file. And what came up is it says, how do you want to open this file? Link for the app, we'll check with the Microsoft Store. So they should have a program to make this thing work. Here's what popped up, no results found. You just gotta love it. So when I went back and read what they call the technical guide on how to do this, it referenced a computer program that they use. It's called ArcGIS Pro Trial. And I go, okay, let me open it. And they go, wait a minute. If you want to buy a subscription for 1 year, it's $700. But we got a deal for you. You can try it for 21 days for free. If you have a business or government address. So I look at this and I go, how is this in compliance with the way they wrote state law, that it's understandable and open to the public? And that's where we do it, is to cut them with their own knife. So here's what I tried to prepare, and we didn't expect this many people, because I printed out a sheet that says, here's some appeal points for you to file an appeal. How do you fill in the box? My wife had like 150 sheets that have this. So if anybody's got one, share it, take out your camera and take a picture. I'll talk with the county and see if they'll post it on their website. So here, the first appeal point. It's not clear language, using graphics, visuals, examples with the underlying criteria for assigning hazard zones that's public available and comprehensible to a public audience. Here's another one. Data is not available to the public for inspection to verify any accuracy. When they came up with that 5-digit number, I go, how do I know that the computer didn't have a glitch that day and the addition was wrong? There is no way to verify anything. all the data is all theoretical and it's not verified by actual conditions. When I talked to the people at Oregon State that put this together, professors, they teach graphic systems and forestry and all kinds of things. They said, well, we have run 200 different scenarios adjusting weather and topography to come up with these answers. So how do I access it? The data's there. All you gotta do is find it. It doesn't work. So that's what I'm saying. It is not public available for you to check anything. Values in this system are inflated. We've got a guy that's going to speak briefly on the values that they put in there, and they inflated all their numbers to make things look worse than they are. This is right. This is part of the ORS, Oregon Revised Statutes, that says how this is supposed to be put together. It's in 417, 490. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Here's the next one. Data is not available for public inspection. It's all theoretical, and the values are inflated. The data is not shown at a tax lot level. If you remember, well, we'll come back. Look at this, and there's my property, and the data sets that they use, they go across property lines. And you look at here, here's this back white area that they have no data. That's mine. This area that they have no data for is Evans Creek. Look at that vegetation there. If you were going to have something that has high expectation of a fire, it's back there along the creek. And here's where the fun starts. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife says I can't take the vegetation out because it shades the creek and it saves the fish because the water doesn't get too hot. Yes. So those are the kinds of things that we run into and the things that I used to have to deal with daily. Let's get back to where we were. Data is not shown at the tax lot level. It's shown at what they call the landscape level. They're looking at large pieces. But how do I know that those all line up with my property? They don't have the registration marks of where these things are all supposed to line up. So I'm saying the data isn't shown that's accurate to the point that I can make a judgment of whether it affects my property or not. It's not coordinated with local partners, including counties. Jackson County is where I live. Jackson County Commissioners had a meeting with the people from the state, and they said, one of our problems is you have misrepresented the county. You have 10% less tax lots than we have on our books. And the structures are not in the same location that they are on the ground with RGIS. They said, well, we gave you an opportunity to try and fix that and you didn't play. So we're going to just keep right on going. So they didn't coordinate with the counties. They treated the counties just like they're treating you as an individual. They don't care. Your information used is not accurate. As you saw, where they have high vegetation, it's not that way. And wildfire hazard value, that number cannot be verified. So those are the kinds of things that you should put into your appeal. Those, as many as apply to your piece of property. Don't skim. Just because they have a little box doesn't mean you're required to stay inside that box. Now, one of the things that I've learned over time, like Ron was talking about, dealing with government systems, it makes an impact when you bring in the personal experience and impacts. Is it doing something to where you can't have your mom live on the piece of property? Your insurance goes sky high. The value of your house has dropped and you've lost a sale. And say, these are the things that have happened to me as a result of your program. One of the things they ask as a part of this process is, what do you want done? Yeah, repeal, that's the common answer. Jeff Golden, who's the sponsor of this, says he would fight repeal tooth and nail. And part of the problem is he is the chairman of the subcommittee that hears this stuff. If he doesn't want it, it doesn't get scheduled.
Who's his boss?
So what we need to do is keep going, because I'm going to list it here in a minute. So what do you want? Replace the map so it's not based on tax lots. Make the program incentive-based. That's one of the things I've talked about all the time, to clean up your property. If you don't do it, they're going to fine you. They could put a lien on your property and they can take it. One of the things that I've suggested years ago, that they go, well, we really can't do that. What happens if you call the power company and say, I want to put in some insulation and weatherproof my house more and save power? You get a tax credit. If you put in solar, you get a tax credit. If you clean up your property, why can't you get a tax credit? Instead of hitting you with the stick, offer something, because it's going to be a whole lot easier to clean things up than send firefighters out there to fight fires.
Montana already has that in place with their.
We'll take questions and comments later. We want to make the information based on real-world facts that are verifiable. Because if they can't prove it to me, I don't believe them. There's been too many times that they've said something that can't be backed up, and I don't trust them anymore. So if there's any additional ideas that you have of what you would like to see done, put them in your appeal. And here's the information. Somebody said they didn't get a letter. You may not have gotten a letter, but you can still appeal. You go to the Oregon State Forestry website, push the wildfire tab where they have an appeal form, an appeal frequently asked question page. There's a phone number there, an email address. So you can call those people and get the forms that you need. Jeremy, you want to come talk about statistics for a minute, and then we're going to get into why this is important.
All right. You guys hear me? All right. So I'm going to let you guys know what my strategy will be to appeal this. And it's not to necessarily look at my property as individually, but to attack the entire methodology. Bob said he wasn't able to get to the data set, but I was able to get into it. I think I downloaded one file. It took me 9 hours. But I found there's a bunch of interesting things I found. I'll hit on two of the key things that I think are relevant. I looked at, what's that? Oh, you can't read? Okay, here, I'll lean into it. All right. Just pull it out. I never heard that before. So I do statistics for a living. Yeah, I've been doing it for the last 5 years. I have a few degrees in that. And I was able to open the data set, and it was a tough time pulling out information from the guy that uploaded the data set. So essentially what I was able to do was, there's like 2 files that have different probabilities, and that's where I focused all my time on, was the probability model. And I aligned it with actuals. Like every probability map is broken down into 14 FOAs. And I looked at the average FOAs from historical data from back to, I think, 1992 to 2015, and I compared those probabilities with their modeled output probability. And the model overestimates the probability by roughly 43%. So aligned with actuals, and you can see that there's definitely an inflation in final hazard risk. Even if you were going to be able to go back and fix all of that, and by the way, that's what I'm going to have a document that I'm uploading to a website or a link that how I'm going to all the information I'm going to put in my appeal. But even if you were to fix all of their scientific, peer-reviewed methodology, there's still, at the end of it, you get this hazard number, which Bob was talking about. The actual thresholds are established by 26 board members, he called them stakeholders, that vote on what is threshold limits for like what is moderate risk or what's high hazard. So it's not, most of the process could be considered peer-reviewed scientific method, but I highly doubt that people voting on what is, the threshold between 1.1 and 1.2, whatever, is that's not very scientific. You need to align that based off of actuals that actually occurred, and that also comes into question of some bias. That 26 board members that all voted on, the threshold, how if you're going to be high risk or low risk, where do they live? Portland, yeah. So there was a bunch of other findings, discrepancies in the data, discrepancies in how they set this big file of how they labeled the data and descriptions of it. And when I started digging into all the probabilities, something didn't make sense, because they're saying they're doing transformations on the data set based on the irrigation, but then when I asked him later on about some other things I saw in the data set that didn't make sense, he said that they're actually doing another transformation on top of that. But so they just haven't been transparent on everything. But those are the 2 key main things that I'm going to hit on, is the thresholds are not a peer-reviewed scientific methodology, and the probabilities are overinflated, roughly 43%. So, and I've got a bunch of other stuff, and it's all a few statistics and methods how I derived all that, and I'm going to try to make it available for everyone so you could all, use it. But, yep.
So the question has come up, should I appeal? Absolutely. We need to let Salem know how we feel about this here in Southern Oregon.
What was his name?
Jeremy, I'm trying to keep him out of the limelight because some people get a little testy about things. Why I'd say we all need to appeal, because numbers speak. And one of the things that I really appreciate is Josephine County going the extra mile for having this meeting here tonight. Number 2, your tax dollars at work. They set me down with their county legal counsel for over an hour, and we crawled through the specifics of this code. And it says not only can you appeal your property, Josephine County can appeal the whole county. And so that form that they have in the back with space for 10 signatures, each one of those will be attached to the county appeal to show that they are being supported by the citizens of Jackson or Josephine County, and it'll hold weight. It won't be that, oh, you've got some rogue commissioners that are just out doing this on their own. The people are behind them. I'm trying to work with Jackson as well. I've been speaking with Colleen Roberts. Spoke at their business meeting on Wednesday. We're trying to see what we can do to line that up as well. I'll make the offer to hold this meeting down in Jackson County as well if they'll take it. Now, the reason I say this is so important is because this is a part of a pattern. Just released in this legislative session is SB 79. It requires counties cannot approve dwellings on exclusive farmland, forest zone, mixed farm, and forest zones if the land is identified as high wildfire hazard. And that's only half of that may not be the worst part of it. Because it goes on to say, or in a groundwater restricted area, or a wildlife habitat or wildlife movement connectivity on high value farmland. When I worked for the county, we had to put together a comprehensive plan, and one of the things we had to deal with was what they call critical deer habitat. And the reasoning was that during the winter time, when snows come and get deep up in the hills, that the deer will come down, so we need enough space for them to come down and have forage during the deep winter time. The only place that we found that there is a migrating herd because of that is down in the Illinois Valley. Some of the high hills down there, that's the only place we had anything, and we tried to fight the state saying, it's not critical habitat for the rest of the county. It is anything under 2,500 feet elevation is considered critical habitat. So they're trying to make it to where you can't live in the rural area. Next, if something happens to your house and it burns down or you need to replace it, it limits the size of a replacement to no more than 10% larger or more than 2,500 square feet. They're trying to tell you what kind of house you can build. They also have restrictions on home businesses and occupations. You cannot rent the property and run a home business. You have to own the property. So you can't rent it out to somebody and them have their own business. That's proposed to be withdrawn. And here's the last one that I've seen, and this, they're not done yet. They're still putting more out there. This one's SB 73. It prohibits a county from rezoning land from farm or forest or mixed farm and forest to a non-resource use, even if you can't grow anything on it. And I can't type where the darn of my spell checker didn't work. I got to get a new computer because I know I put it in right. It's this darn computer that it won't spell right. So yeah, in Josephine County we have a specific kind of formation called serpentine. You can see it a lot in the Illinois Valley. You can see it at the base of Mount Sexton. Look over to the right as you're headed up the hill, and that area that looks like it was burned, it wasn't. That's a rocky area that has high manganese and minerals that prohibit growth of timber. kind of talking my age when we did this comp plan back in the late 70s. We took LCDC out to the Illinois Valley and showed them one of the tree stands that was on this type of ground. And we said, how old do you think those trees are based on their size? And they said, they looked and they had their forester with them. He says, those look like about 35 years. We took them over and bored that tree right in front of them and showed them they were off by 100. That's the kind of land that nobody can make a living on, but they say you can't change the zone. And if it's vacant, and the other part in SB 79, you can't build a house on it. So what are you supposed to do with it? It's a way to drive people off their property. Now, I know Saturday at the Republican office, Noah Robinson's going to be there. He's proposed SB 678 that would repeal 762. I don't know how well that's going to fly because it has to go through Jeff Golden's committee. Art Robinson tried it when he was a senator and it didn't go anywhere. Noah's trying again. I give him an A for effort, but it's going to be hard. So what can you do? Here is the Senate Subcommittee on Resources and Wildfire. Here's Jeff Golden, Todd Nash, Fred Gerard, Floyd Brzezinski, and Kathleen Taylor. And this dang computer, I just bought it, so I haven't got it broken in yet. But Jeff Golden and Floyd Brzezinski and Kathleen Taylor, they're all Democrats. Todd Nash and Fred Gerard, the Republicans. But we need a combined thing of having enough people tell them about the problems of what they're proposing to get them to stop. And like Ron said, it takes numbers. And that's when I told you about how to write an appeal, even if it's on some of these bills. How does it personally affect you? That will make a difference. This morning, I got a phone call from Salem, Oregon Property Owners Association. They said, Salem has heard about your meeting tonight. So they're aware of things going on down here. Something was just put on the Oregon Property Owners Association website late this afternoon. They talk about those bills and some other things going on. And they're asking us to not only talk to the subcommittees, but talk to Senate leadership. Write and call these people as well and say what's going on is an affront to the rural property owners in Oregon. It's not what Oregon was made to be. You know, we're not back with the beginning of Senate Bill 100 of come visit Oregon but then go home. This is our home. We want to live free. We need to have things working right, and we need to contact these people and let them know. Like I said, your county commissioners are standing up for you. If there's anything else they can do, they're going to try. I've been told that the exhibits that we've got here tonight will be put up on the county website, so you'll be able to have access to them. My wife was handing out a sheet of paper. We will get this on the website as well. So those things that we had, talking points of what are the appeal points that you need to talk about, because that is what the code is based on. Because they don't, this code does not talk about insurance. They did pass a bill called Senate Bill 82, and it says that insurance corporations are not supposed to use the Oregon map. And yeah, that worked great in LA too. It also said that if they are going to cancel you or raise your rate heights considerably, that's against the law too. There is a state agency that's got an insurance commissioner. File any complaints with that office. because we need to overwhelm them with the stories of what is happening in Oregon. In that packet of information that you got, it has the address for the insurance commissioner. Pardon? No, you can file them online. They don't have to be certified, but if I send it online, at least that way I've got a receipt to know that I've done it. If I send it snail mail, I would have it certified just to make sure that they know it's there and I know it got sent. And the other thing that I have a concern about is making sure that you don't miss that date of March 6th, 7th, 8th, or 10th, whatever they want to make it to be. Because as we know, they've changed the mail service here and everything goes to Portland before it comes back. I know I've sent mail across town and it took 7 days to get to another Rogue River address. So this sheet will go up that has the appeal points. It'll have the whole program here, and on the back it has the Senate bills that are being proposed now. So you'll have something to talk to folks about. I know the county commissioners want to have at least another meeting like this or more. So talk to your neighbors, tell them for them to come next time so they can hear it and be able to ask questions and see what's going on. I try and make this at least understandable to anybody and everybody, because this gets real complex. So I'm open for questions if we've got any.
Is there going to be a list of lawyers?
On the Oregonians in the Oregon Property Owners Association, they have a list of attorneys that are working with them, that they're going to try and do it for individuals. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my question is, should everyone, not just the high risk, but should everyone appeal? Or
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Rod's got another comment before we get off.
The map that you showed us, it shows the whole state, and there's a lot more counties that are in this. Are you guys getting together with the other counties, because you're talking about numbers? That would be, that would multiply.
The most hard-hit county in the whole state is Josephine County. Second hardest hit state county is Jackson County. The third hardest state county is Deschutes County. I'm reaching out to every commissioner in the county, in the state. So we're going to try to get numbers together. What I want you to understand is they're going to come up with a law that you have to put a net over your house in case an airplane crashes. Just on the F-come, you know? Or maybe we need to all have a hardened earthquake bunker, just in case we have an earthquake. That's exactly what this is. They're telling you that you have to do these things, that something may possibly happen in the future. Wait a second. When was the last time these areas that call them high hazard burned? Never. Never. So go back to your questions. I just want to say that.
Sir, excuse me. You had a deal with the Forest Service. Some of the people like myself have these creeks that are dry in the summer, but yet the Forest Service won't go in there and clean them up, and so the water in the wintertime will flow through faster without being resisted and flooding out people's places. And if we try to do something to clean out those creeks, they turn around and tell us you don't touch that creek because of the fish. But how can the fish get up there when the creek is dry, when the rains have stopped?
Fish and Wildlife. They have required counties to have riparian areas where you can't remove vegetation within that primary area. We need to get that law changed. Now is the time because of the fire hazard that those creeks have. We do that first by talking to the county commissioners to see if we can propose some changes. And the other one is to talk to the representatives that we have, Scarlatos, Noah Robinson, any of your legislators, they can propose laws to change.
Okay, Bob, we got one over here.
So we have property in Josephine and Douglas County, and they're all in a trust. And they say that we have to have an attorney, but we're the trustees of our trust. And why can we not pro bono represent ourselves as the trustees? Aren't they taking away our rights by doing that?
We're going to do circular reasoning here. You have to ask an attorney why they have that set up that way, because it is in state statute and administrative rules that you have to have an attorney. You cannot represent you or your trust.
The Oregon Department of Forestry already assesses property because if it's in forest land. They have people that actually go out and look at it. So why does this organization have to develop another map? It's already out there. Everybody's paying fire patrol that has forest land. And they check it every couple of years. There's no reason to be doing this other stuff.
Well, he's going to get his exercise tonight.
We only got one mic, okay? And it is pretty powerful. If we can turn it down in the very back, then it won't be so loud. But here you go, sir.
Since we as a group are considered a class, and we're all being treated basically the same, why cannot we file a class action lawsuit?
That's one of the questions we're asking the attorneys. It said they would help with the appeals. We're also talking to them about class action.
How about the, by the ballot box? Can we do anything with that?
At this point, I would have to double check. I think it was done as an emergency ordinance in the way state law is, that you can't start an initiative against, emergency clause. So we need to talk to legislators and have them propose a law to change it.
I think you all ought to just write them all and ask for a 120-day extension on your bill. Just write them all, call them all, and ask for a 120-day extension on your bill. The process is too complicated. So just do that. It's going to take you people reaching out. We're going to do this again, but it's going to need to grow, triple, quadruple. If we get 20,000, 30,000 people, this thing will go away.
Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. If our property taxes go down significantly, if our property values go down significantly, and we're denied use of our property in a true practical way, like to sell it, will our property taxes go down significantly? And my second question is, how is it legal that all this high red zone, because some of the areas that I'm involved in where I live, it's open space and it's urban, it's not wildland, and yet I'm in the high red. But Jeff Golden is right in the ashland. It's all trees, and he's moderate to low. I think there's some hypocrites.
We got a hot mic here. How about going to the back here? Just hold the mic low. There was somebody over here that wanted it. Okay, we're trying to get as many people before 9. So. For the county appeal, how do the people that aren't here sign that county appeal? Did you hear that question?
Yes, I did. I'll have to check it. The people that aren't here, how can they sign the form?
Bob and I started a webpage 3 years ago called undo762.com. I took that down, but we're going to raise it back up and put it online. We can post these letters. We can post the comments. It's a way you can keep informed about the next meeting. Because we have to do this again. There's no way one meeting is going to make an impact. We need to do it again.
I have a question. I want clarification, Bob.
Yes, sir.
So my home is in my family trust. Does that mean I can still file an appeal, or do I have to hire an attorney to file that appeal for me?
You have to hire an attorney to file that appeal for you.
Okay, here we go.
The gentleman who was gathering data, I think you said his name was Jeremy.
Yes.
Is it going to be available even like in a PDF where we can include that information with all of our appeals? He left. Because that would be handy to have because it shows that the data that they are crunching is not correct.
He did say that we could use that data that he put together, so we will put that on the website so you can download it and put it with part of your appeal.
I don't want to relate to that, but the trust issue. I don't remember seeing anywhere on there where it said, who's your attorney? So do we really actually have to have the attorney to file the appeal or just bury them in the paperwork?
There's two parts to that.
Well, wait, and my other section is, isn't that denying me the right to defend myself?
Well, at this point, it's not a criminal action, so I don't know that you'd have to defend yourself like that. It does say in the statute and in the Oregon administrative rules that trusts have to have an attorney. There's also a box on the appeal form that says, do you intend to have an attorney? We can check that and let them scurry around to try and figure out how they're going to defend all these different attorneys. So whether I finally do it or not, I will probably check that box.
The question I have is, I may have missed this, but who identified this map that needed to be changed to begin with?
The map was required in the state law, SB 762, where they had assigned the requirement to make a map to the Oregon State University, OSU.
Okay, so my next question, Chris, is for you, really. You're a realtor, correct? So we're over here standing as a community wanting to fight for our properties. Why would we not, as a realtor, I used to be in real estate, why would the businesses that are being affected by sales and their livelihood not, as a group, get involved in this? It's got to be affecting the businesses.
Yeah, it's affecting everybody. That's why we're here. I mean, it's affecting all of us. It's real estate everywhere. So it's happening. And we are standing up. We're going to do this appeals that Bob talked about. If you guys want to talk, I'm not going to come to you anymore. Just put a line right here, and we'll try to talk. We only have about 20 more minutes.
I was wondering, is there an attorney that you could recommend for this issue?
I don't have one in mind. The one that I used to use was Wayne Schultz, but he's gone. Well, like I said, I know that the Oregon Property Owners Association is posting that on their website. They will probably have that up the first of next week. That has a list of attorneys that have agreed to do this.
Back to the trust. So if you have a trust, can you take your house out of the trust and fight them by yourself without an attorney? Because you can have whatever you want in your trust and not have everything in your trust, correct?
That's correct. But I would talk to my tax accountant to see if that will have some kind of tax implication when you take it out of the trust.
Have you spoken with the commissioners from Douglas County yet?
Yeah, I've reached out to the commissioners from Douglas County. They're just as upset about this law as Josephine and Jackson County. They're not quite as hard as him. I think the thing we have to do here, I see there's a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. We need like a central clearinghouse where everybody can come to it. And I'm going to put my website back up tomorrow. I'll make a call. It's called undo762.com. We'll put some letters on that you can download. We'll put some information on there for you. We can announce our next meeting. But you have to understand, the thing that's going to change this is numbers. Numbers of people. That's what's going to change it. So you need to go out and talk to all your neighbors, and we need to do this again. And I'll put that web page up. Remember that undo762, very easy to undo762.com. And there's a bunch of information on there already. And we'll make it a central clearinghouse for this issue.
There is no filing fee to file an appeal. So if you do it on your own, there is no charge by the state to file an appeal.
So how do they determine what land is irrigated and how do they determine what's agriculture? What's their definition of agriculture?
Your guess is as good as mine, because I asked them. They said they have a computer program that they work through the state water master's office that tells what land is irrigated and what is not.
My property's been irrigated for decades. It's not on the map.
It's not the sole determining factor. It may be irrigated, but there may be other factors that was not enough to counterbalance it. It's not a perfect system. But I will put that in my appeal.
Thank you.
I'd like to know what the state is doing to protect me. I mean, the fire comes to me, it's called a wildfire, it's not called Doc's fire, and they want me to protect their land. Well, what are they doing to protect my land from their land?
I know quite a few firefighters in the community, and they work tail off trying to fight the fires around here. So that's what they're doing. The state is paying for it. The last biennium, I think they spent well over $200 million. Part of it is federal money, but they've spent a lot of money on equipment and people to try and fight fires.
Before we get to the next question, oops, a little bit too loud here. Andreas Fletcher, Commissioner, and I wanted to invite everybody. Well, first of all, I want to ask a question. Who here knows what the acronym WBS stands for? WBS. Okay, I see a blank stare at everybody. Weekly business session. Weekly business session. This is where we have our weekly meetings on Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock at the Anna G. Vassar Auditorium. If you pay attention, you would know that we've been talking about this since last summer and even the summer before that and the summer before that. So I want to encourage anybody and everybody that can come to our WBS, come and talk to us there. We have an opportunity for the public to address the county commissioners so that we can serve you in the best way possible. Right here, there's no way we're going to be able to answer everybody's questions because everybody has a unique situation.
How about, commissioners, how about a class action lawsuit against the state of Oregon's forestry department for mismanaging our forests and
we as
not having
commissioners,
qualified people running the show? Is that can we do that, or do we have to call public trumpet?
So remember, we're the county. This is a state issue, and as a county, we are going to help as much as we can. So we're your allies right here. We're working with you, not against you. Okay, that's okay. We're getting into some more specific questions that I don't think we're quite ready to answer yet, but that may be an option.
So I'd like to help remember undo762.com. Please remember that. It will be up on the internet tomorrow.
Are we still taking questions or no?
All right, one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
One more question? All right.
Can you tell us what the social vulnerability index is on the map? That was not discussed. I know what it is. It's a significant portion of the map.
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
On the map, it talks about the social vulnerability index. What is it? How does it apply? It's an entire section on the map. It's an entire section on the map you can select.
They have not figured out how to apply that yet. That was in the original legislation.
Just ask me, I'll tell you.
And what it's supposed to do is to be able to provide grants for people that can't afford it to do their improvements to their property. So they have to figure out how to create those. It is an overlay on the map.
All right, before everybody leaves, I want to see a show of hands. Who thinks this town hall was good tonight? Okay, I see lots of good, but you know what would make it great? Participate and do what needs to be done, because individually we can't get anything done. We all need to work together, pull together in the same direction. Before you leave, just one more note. I wanted to do a shout out to thank Tamara Martin, Director of Fairgrounds, and thank her and her team for helping us set this up on short notice and being able to accommodate as many people as we have here. So great big thank you to that. And with that, I think we'll end the meeting, and we want everybody to be safe driving home, and we look forward to working for you in the future. Thank you, everyone.